Hey everyone, and welcome to the Youngster Studio Live, where we bring guided studio activities for you at home. My name is Raphael. I'm a senior teaching artist at the De Young Museum in San Francisco. Today we're going to make a self-portrait inspired by Frida Kahlo. Let's look at some of the materials we're going to need. Some paper. Printer paper works great. Or maybe you have a shopping bag laying around, you want to cut that up, that works too. Some crayons are good to make marks with. That way you don't have to wait for them to dry if you're making a picture. You'll need some scissors, a glue stick or some glue. And if you're going to make your picture into a photo album, it's helpful to have a piece of dark paper. Black paper works great, as long as it's a little bit bigger than the picture you're going to draw. Okay? You're going to need something to cover your table is helpful. I'm going to use a piece of brown cardboard. If you have a mirror, that's handy because we're going to do a self-portrait, so it's really helpful to look at yourself while you're doing that. Let me show you a picture of what we're going to make. See where I have that here. Here we go. Here's one I made a while ago. The one I'm going to make today is probably going to look a little bit different, but you can see I put a self-portrait in the middle, I added some things around it, and then I put it in this little picture frame. Today's demonstration will take about 20 minutes or so, but you can take long as you need to if you really want to make your picture extra special. Let's get started. First thing we're going to do, though, is talk a little bit about a self-portrait. So when we look at a picture of a self-portrait, we think about what kind of things you like to do. I know I like to make art, so maybe you can see some of my artwork on the wall behind me here. Sometimes people like to do pictures of things they like to do outside, especially if you've been cooped up for a while. You can add those into your self-portrait too. You might want to make a portrait with special clothes that you like to wear. Today I've got on my fancy Mexican shirt. It's got some embroidery around the collar and some down the front here as well. I also had some beads that I might wear, but I don't have them with me right here. But I'll draw a picture of them anyways. I was given some special beads by a friend of mine in Mexico. They're made out of shells, and it'll make me really look nice in my picture. All right, let's take a look at a picture of Frida Kahlo that she made to get some ideas for how to make our own self-portrait. This is a picture that Frida made dedicated to a friend of hers named Dr. Alesser. In this picture, we can see that she's standing in a pretty dark and gloomy background, but she's got on a lot of fancy things that make her feel happy and proud about herself and being from Mexico. Maybe you can see those flowers in her hair, and you'll see little bits of ribbon tied into her braids on the top of her head. That's the way women would dress in the area of Mexico called Oaxaca, where her mother's family's from. You can also see she has on some makeup, a fancy shawl, but she also has something sharp around her neck. That's some sharp spines, actually, and she's painting herself with those on her because when Frida was young, she was in a bad accident, and it left her in a lot of pain. Dr. Alesser, a San Francisco doctor in the 1930s, helped her with some operations. So she was so grateful that she made this picture for him, and she dedicated it at the bottom it says, "To Dr. Alesser, my special, extra special friend." She's also, though, got on something else. She has on some little dangly hand earrings, which are pretty unusual for the time, the 1930s and 40s. But those were given to her by an important artist in Paris, France, when she visited. The background, though, is a little more gloomy. You can see some dark, gray, purpley clouds, and some kind of fallen leaves and some broken branches in there. But nonetheless, that's the picture that made Frida feel just the way she was feeling. So let's see if we can make a picture like that today. Okay. There's about 6 steps to making this picture. You can follow along, or you can just watch what I'm doing and make your own later on. I'm going to get a piece of paper, and I'm going to get some crayons, and the first thing I'm going to do is make a face and some shoulders. Here's a little cutout of a head and shoulders. You can use something like that too if you like. Maybe someone can help you cut that out. Okay. If you're going to make your head, if you're going to draw a picture of your head and shoulders, here's one way you can do it. I'm going to hold my paper this way, and I'm going to draw, starting with just a kind of a half circle, maybe a half egg shape. And then I'm going to draw another kind of half egg shape at the bottom. I hope you can see that okay. Next, I'm going to put my eyes kind of where my half circles come together, kind of in the middle. Not too high and not too low. So let's put some eyes in. I think you kind of know the shape of eyes. They're kind of an almond shape, or a leaf shape, or maybe just an eye shape. Okay. Next, we're going to put our nose halfway between our eyes and our chin. And for a nose, I'm just going to put like a little smile. See that? I'm not going to add too much more. You can, however, if you want, draw your nose up the side. That way too. Now let's put in our mouth. The mouth is about halfway between our nose and our chin. So for a mouth, I'm just going to put 2 little lines like that. Probably not what you were expecting. But sometimes if we put a great big grin, it just kind of makes us look like a cartoon. So this is a little bit different. All right. Now I'm going to put my ears in. My ears are right about the height of my eyes. I'm going to start about the middle of my eyes and go down from there. So I'm just going to kind of make some little marks that way to go down. Kind of like ears. You see how I just made like a little candy cane going down? All right. Next I'm going to put my eyeballs in there. And notice I'm not making small little circles in there because that'll make it look like I'm really excited or my eyes are too wide open. So I'm just going to make them little half circles like that. And here's an extra tip. If you then make a little eyelid over it, it makes it look more natural, like you're just looking and you're not got your eyes wide open surprised. It also makes it look like you have eyelashes, which is nice too. Okay. Next thing, I'm going to add some eyebrows. I'm just going to make some little upside down smiles like that. Starting to look like a person, wouldn't you say? Let's see, what else do I need? Oh yeah, let's see. My beard. Now this is something you may not want to draw on you, but if you want to, I say go for it. I don't have a black crayon, but I find that using a dark brown and a dark blue works really good and makes for natural looking hair. Now my hair has a little extra of this color in there, gray, so I'll use some of that too. And I can see I have a little bit of gray right here, so I'm going to start with that part actually, just kind of like that. This is the fun part. I kind of do a little scribble beard. Starting to look a little bit more like me already. Let's see. My mustache kind of goes that way. You see how I'm drawing in the same direction that my hair grows? That way and then that way. But this part, I'm just going to kind of scribble Scribble beard, scribble beard, scribble beard. Okay. Throw in some of that blue. Do you see how it starts to look like a natural beard color? I think so. There we go. I'm going to add some in my eyebrows too. And I'm also going to add a little hair, even though I don't have too much left. I'm going to add some hair. I'm just putting a little bit at the top because I don't have as much as maybe you do. And I'm going to bring my hair around to the side and inside my ears a little bit. Okay? I'm going to kind of cover my ears a little bit. I'm going to come around and come inward a little bit. Okay? That makes it look natural, like I have temples. Okay? I find if I do kind of scratchy hair like this, it kind of looks a little more realistic than if I make it perfect. Like you'll notice I'm not just drawing a line to make fancy hair. I'm just kind of doing a little bit of scribbling. But if you scribble in the direction that it grows, it'll look pretty natural. Got a little bit of gray up there too. If I do a portrait next year, I might even have more gray. I'm going to fill in my eye color. My eyes are kind of a combination of green and brown. It's called hazel. So I'm going to put my green and my brown in there. There we go. Ooh, got a little extra eyeball in there. Oh well. That's the basics for a face. Let's add a neck and some shoulders next. Let's see. What do I want to use? Ah, here's a color. All right, so for my neck, I'm going to start right about the edge of my mouth. Maybe a little bit wider, kind of like straight down from my eyeballs or my edges of my eyes. Okay? Don't go too wide. So I'm going to start about here and about here. And I'm not going to make it too long either, otherwise I'll make it look like I'm a giraffe. So unless you're a giraffe out there, you might want to just make a little short neck, okay? Then I'm going to swing around the side to make shoulders. See how I kind of swung around? And there you go. Here's a basic picture of a face, okay? I hope yours looks a little different than this. Nonetheless, that's what we're going to start with. When we're done drawing our face, we're going to cut it out. So very carefully, cut all the way around your face and take it out. Here's a picture I've already made earlier that I've cut out so we can move right along. In this picture, you'll notice I've got my fancy beads on. See that? Now you know what they look like a little bit. And here's my special shirt that I'm wearing today. I know I used a blue crayon, but that's all I had, so that's okay. The other thing I did is I added a lot of color in my face. You'll notice I put a little bit of pink in my ears, on my nose, and just a little bit on my lips. Then what I did is I took my finger after I put all the color in, and I kind of squished it around. Just kind of squidge it around as much as you can, and it'll soften it out and kind of blend it all together. All right, let's move on here. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on a background. So for this part, get another piece of paper, like this, and this time we're just going to fill our color using a crayon that doesn't have any paper on it. See that? Paper crayon, no paper crayon. All right. I like using crayons that don't have paper on them because I can use the side of them. I don't have to draw like this. I can go like this. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. All right? So let's see. I'm going to make a kind of a dark, gloomy background like Frida Kahlo's picture. Now, if you've cut out a little person to use as a guide for your shape, you can put that right on your picture and then you'll know where your background's going to go. You don't have to do that, however you want. So now I can just very quickly make a nice toned background using my side of my little paperless crayon. All right, there we go. Now, I'm going to add a little extra color though, because it's nice sometimes to blend a few colors around. If you add a few extra colors around, it makes your picture all come alive. So you don't have to just do like, this is where the blue goes. This is where the green goes. This is where the yellow goes. Just kind of like let them all play around a little bit. They'll have more fun and your picture will look more alive. All right. There we go. Still a little gloomy, but that's okay because sometimes when you spend a lot of time cooped up inside, you feel a little bit like that. And with artwork, it's always good to draw what you're feeling because it just can make you feel right sometimes. Okay. Next, I'm going to grab some things from my bin over here. Oh, I forgot to show you. Here's some materials that we need too. This is some fancy wrapping paper. And I'm going to use that because that can add to our background. It makes it pretty quick and easy to do it. Now, if you don't have fancy wrapping paper, here's something I bet you do have at home. An envelope. See if you can find some envelopes, cut them open, and then check this out. You've got all this cool kind of textury stuff on the inside. The other thing you can do is you can cut these parts out and use them for another picture that has windows. So if you want to make like a picture where you're looking out the window, try that. Anyways, let's get back to our self-portrait. So, next thing you're going to do is you're going to cut out some shapes. I'm going to cut out some to look like Frida Kahlo's leaves in the background of her picture. So here's some that I previously cut out. I bet you can guess that I cut it out of this paper. But if you notice, I didn't get really careful and cut just around all those little feather shapes. I just cut them to the shape that I wanted them to be. Even though this one only has half the picture on it, and this one has more of the picture, it's fine. They're kind of like little eyeball shapes, sort of, or leaf shapes. Okay. Then what I also did was I cut out some twiggy kind of branch shapes to go in the background. Now this is kind of a fancy twiggy branch shape, but you don't have to make it the way I did it here. One thing you can do is just cut out some long, thin pieces like that, and then just stick them together, and it will look like a tree branch, okay? So you can cut those out too. Can you see I made this one out of the envelope? Look at this. Can you see how that's this? Watch, it's going to disappear. Invisible tree branch. Dink, dink. Okay. So, next thing you're going to do is you're going to take your picture that you made. I like my necklace. And you're going to take your little branchy, leafy things that you made, and you're going to arrange them on your picture just the way you want them. This is why I asked you to cut out your picture first and put it on the background, because now I can move it around the way I want it to be. In fact, I could even change the background if I wanted to, just to see the different things it would look like. For instance, here's a picture I made before. So if I wanted to change my background, I could put this guy on there. Pretty cool. Let's try one more. Here's another picture I made, totally different. Let's see what he looks like on there. Yeah, it's all right. These rainbow pictures I made for some friends that weren't feeling very well these days. And sometimes rainbow pictures help brighten people up. So I'd say make rainbow pictures and put them around. But today I'm kind of making this gloomy one a little bit. So I'm using this background, and I'm putting my tree branches in there. Ooh, check this out. Now it looks like I'm kind of in the forest a little bit. Can you see that? Like there's a leaf kind of covering me. I'm coming through the trees a little bit. Maybe I'll put this one in front of me. That's kind of cool. See, I can move it around and I'm not locked in. If I did a drawing, it'd be like, okay, there's my drawing. That's what I got. But now I can kind of move it around. I'm going to put some of these leafy guys back here. I wonder what Frida would say of my picture. She'd go, why are you copying me? Or if she'd say, wow, Raphael, that looks great. She might say, oh, que bueno, Raphael, or something like that, because Frida spoke Spanish. She also spoke some English, but mostly she spoke Spanish. She was very proud of being Mexican. That's why she wore all of her clothing from where her mother was from, down in southern Mexico, in Oaxaca. All right, I think it's time to glue some of these down, so let's start with that. I'm going to put a little bit of glue. Got my little glue stick here. I'm just going to use a little bit of glue, because I might want to change it later. But for now, let's put a little glue on there. Glue this guy down. I'm going to put a little glue on my ooh, look at this. This is kind of cool this way. Maybe I should use it that way. I think I will. Oh my gosh. Just discovered something. Ooh, so cool. Wow, okay. Changed my mind. I'm using the other side because it's my picture and I get to make it the way I want to do it. That's the nice thing about art. You get to make it how you want. And when it doesn't come out the way you want it to, make another one. All right, let's see. Okay. There's our guy in the forest there. Add a couple of these leaves. The background for some color. And then maybe this one I will use this way in the front. Yeah, I think I will. Okay, cool. See how nice it is to have a little piece of cardboard or something on my table now? I don't really want to get too much glue on my table. And I'm sure your moms and dads out there are going to appreciate it if I tell you not to use too much glue to get on the table. So I'm going to glue down my picture of my branches. Ooh, it looks like I'm really in the forest here. Sometimes looking like you're in the forest, I think I'm going to use the green side of these to be like leaves, not the colored side. Sometimes being in the forest is a way of showing people that we're kind of in a dark place. And that's okay, because sometimes we are. So we just see how things work for us. In this case, I changed my mind a couple of times. I think you could see that already. Put a little bit of glue on there. I'm almost done. Let's see. Should I put another leaf on there? Yeah. I don't know. I think I'm good there. Let's have a look. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Here's the other thing. I can let this sit for a while and put it up on maybe my gallery on my refrigerator or on the wall. And that gives me a chance to look at it, and I can change it later on if I want to. Uh-oh. Put a little glue on the back of that one. It's sticking to the table. Let's see. All right. I think I need a little bit of glue, like right about there. I think. I hope. Yeah. Okay, cool. Ta-da! One kind of gloomy, kind of fabulous self-portrait inspired by Frida Kahlo. Okay, now let's make our cover for it. So, let's see, here's this one. Yeah. So, to make our cover, now you might say, well, why are we making a cover for it? Well, Frida Kahlo's father was a photographer in Mexico. And back in those times, the early 1900s, a lot of times people had photo books or albums where they would insert their pictures into the album. So we're going to do that. We're going to take our picture and insert it into this photo album that we're going to make. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to not use the inside. We're going to use the outside to do a little marks, do some marks. I'm going to take a fresh piece of paper just to use the edges of it, and I'm just going to trace the corners like this, maybe about 1 inch or so. Doesn't have to be too big. I don't know, you can try an inch, inch and a half, however it works for you. But get those corners nice and traced. Okay? So it looks like that. And then the next thing you're going to do is, did I make help from somebody who can help you with one? Because I don't want to hear about anybody getting cut out there, okay? All right. So I got my X-Acto blade. Now here's the important part. I'm just going to cut, not the line. I'm going to cut from one tip of one line to the other tip of the other line. I'm going to make what's called a triangle. Perhaps you've heard of that. Okay. So, I'm going to cut all my corners to make my triangles. This is when it's helpful to have a mat on my table too, because I don't want to cut my nice table. Okay, so I'm going to cut all my corners, just like that. All right, then I'm going to close my blade up. And next, I'm going to take my picture, I'm going to open my page, and I'm going to insert the corners into these little cut parts. Oh, did you think that's what I was going to do? I bet you probably did. Maybe you've even seen an old photo album like this. There's some beautiful ones around. Some people have them from their families. If you get to see the Frida Kahlo exhibit when the DeYoung Museum opens back up, hopefully you'll see some photographs of her when she was a child and when she was older too. So now we have our finished self-portrait inspired by Frida Kahlo in a little photo album. Okay? I hope you've enjoyed making smart with me today. Once again, my name's Raphael. I'm a teaching artist at the DeYoung Museum in San Francisco, and we hope you'll join us on Instagram Live or Facebook or wherever you can find us every week on Fridays for some more art making with the DeYoungster Studio Live, coming to you from the Education Department of the Fine Arts Museums of San Francisco.